Hello everyone, this is Yana Smakula. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I am creating 2 cards with the Spellbinders 12 Days of Stitchmas Stitching Advent Calendar. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm a huge fan of the Spellbinders Advent Calendars. I had the Stitchmas last year. I had the 24 Crafty Surprises one last year, and I absolutely loved my Advents. So today, I'm excited to bring you a simple card tutorial featuring day number 9 from the Stitchmas Advent Calendar from Spellbinders. So let's go ahead and open our day number 9 and take a look inside. We have the adorable little mittens. These were sneak peeked on the back of the box, so you might have already seen these. If not, here is a look at the dies. So we have the outline, we have the stitchable inserts, we have a die to die cut the cuffs, and we have a little die to die cut the thread that's connecting the 2 mittens together. I went ahead and used cardstock from the Stitch Along kit. So here I have the poppy red cardstock and I die cut my mittens from red. My color combination for my card is going to be red and teal. I'm using one of the gold needles from the Stitch Along kit. I was so thrilled to see the gold needles included in the Stitch Along kit. Obviously, I have stitching needles in my stash, but they're all silver in color, and these are gold. So I was very excited. The stitching needles are blunt, so you won't poke yourself, you won't pierce your skin. They are designed specifically for stitching on paper. I'm using a DMC gold thread again. This is included in the Stitch Along kit, and I'm just following the lines that the die imprinted on the paper to add stitches to my paper. This is very easy to do. It's very simple. Of course, you can always be creative, and if you want to do something different, you definitely have this opportunity. You can stitch these in any way you like. But if you are new to stitching, or if you just want to relax and, just stitch away without thinking, go ahead and follow the lines that the die presses into the paper when you use it to die cut your shape out. I'm using just 1 ply of thread. You can double your thread up if you want to have more gold. I kind of like this detailed, delicate gold look on my paper, so I'm just using 1 ply of thread. I did tie my thread into a knot from the back. Sometimes I like to use a tape, like the Spellbinders Best Ever Craft Tape, the Nura version, if there is room on the back of my die cut to secure the thread in place. This was not the case. I did not have enough room on the back of this die cut, so I just figured I'm going to tie it into a little knot and then use my scissors at the end once I'm done stitching to trim any excess thread off. So here the top row is ready, and I just need to stitch the center. I stitched the center in the exact same way. I did not show you the process because it's very repetitive. You just, again, follow the lines. And now I'm using ink and a Spellbinders blending brush to add some shading. Typically, you would want to add shading to your die cuts before you do any stitching, but I figured I'm going to add shading after I've done my stitching, and this way I might actually ink blend the thread a little bit. Not too much. I mean, it's barely visible. You can barely tell there's some ink on the thread, but it's there, and it kind of makes it look a little bit more, natural, I guess. I think it looks a little bit better. So here's the non-stitch and non-ink blended mitten for you to see the 2 mittens side by side. And you can kind of tell how the ink blending adds a lot of additional interest and detail to this die cut. This is a pretty detailed die cut already because you have that beautiful detail added to it. You have the texture created with the die, but we can add more by adding ink blending. Here I'm using the Barely Art glue to adhere the cuff onto my mitten, and the cuff is cut from the Spellbinders Barely Peach cardstock. I went ahead and I stitched both mittens. Again, did not show you the stitching of the second mitten as it's exactly the same process. And now we are ready to assemble our card. Here I have a panel of teal cardstock from the Stitch Along kit. This is cut to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, and I'm stamping a sentiment from the Stitch Along kit in VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I'm using the Mini Misty stamping tool, and the sentiment reads, "Cold hands, warm heart." It's like the perfect sentiment for these little mittens, for these adorable little stitched die cuts. I'm using foam adhesive squares. I used regular foam adhesive squares for the mitten that's closer to us, and the one that's in the background, for that one, I used the thin foam adhesive squares. Next, I'm just using a little bit of glue to adhere that little loopy die cut to connect the two die cuts together, and that pretty much finishes my card. It's a very simple project, very easy to do, especially if you want to maybe mass produce this one. So these mittens are not hard to die cut, they do not take long to stitch, and you can also leave them free from stitching if you don't feel like adding stitching to your project. I adhered my panel onto an A2 top folding card base, and I also added a couple of oyster gems from my kit. Now here's a look at another card I created using these mittens. I wanted to add texture to the background of this card, so I used an embossing folder. This is a 3D embossing folder from Spellbinders. It's called Flurry of Snowflakes. I first stamped a sentiment, "Baby, it's cold outside," using the same VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And next I did partial embossing using the Flurry of Snowflakes embossing folder. I also added a touch of white pigment ink over the embossed areas to help these snowflakes appear white on the light blue background, and I added die cut mittens on top. These were cut from Barely Peach cardstock and Poppy Field cardstock. So I used the same colors of cardstock, but I simply reversed them, and I skipped adding ink blending to the mittens, and I also skipped adding pearls. So here's a look at the two cards I have for you today, created with the day 9 of the Spellbinders 12 Days of Stitchmas Advent Calendar. Advents are hopefully still available. I am filming this video a little bit ahead of time, so hopefully they're still available. And if you are enjoying this video, if you are enjoying the stitching dies, you might want to consider picking up or checking out the Advent Calendar. It makes for a great gift for yourself or for a crafty friend. Links are in the video description below. Thanks so much for joining me today. Love you guys, and I'll see you again next time.